This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning and welcome again, everybody, to The Dawn, coming to you live from Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, where we have found the sunrise that is arising in the east, as it always is. And what a beautiful morning it is to be out and about. We are very excited to be out with you this morning, and it's not only myself. We'll have Lauren, who's back from leave, joining us. We have Kyle out in Tswalu Kalahari, Ross in andBeyond Phinda, and Mike will be joining us from Prrivate, and we welcome you all on board your live African safari. Hello everybody, good morning, welcome to Djuma in this morning, the first day of February 2021. Hello all of you lovely people, my name is Steve, joined by Sebastian Hornbill on camera, and very excited to have my main man back on camera and back in the camera seat. Yes, hello everybody, welcome aboard. Well, it is a beautiful morning today. As you can see, the sun is rising. It is a gorgeous time to be alive, and it is 24 degrees Celsius, 75 degrees Fahrenheit. If you have any questions, please send them through using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, or throw them in on the YouTube chat stream using the all-important @FC. If you're under the age of 18, please get your parents or guardians to send through questions to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. And if you have not done so already, please head on over to the website and register. Head over to the live safari page where you can submit your questions there. My plan for this morning is to probably head up a little bit north and see if I can figure out where that buffalo herd has headed to. But first we're going to just figure out what is making the tree shake. It is not an earthquake. It is not the rumbles of the jungle. There's something over here shaking the tree. I wonder, what could it be? And it is Monday after all, everybody. So if we have the time, I will be breaking down another medicinal plant for you today. And I think the tree has been shaken. Ooh. Yes, it has been by this big fellow over here in search of his tell me when you're happy. Ah, what a beautiful shot. Look at him. There's a big African elephant feeding on the marula fruits. There we go, he's going to shake again. Are you ready? What a splendid fellow. You never see the females shaking the trees. I just don't know if it requires a little bit more strength. There's a bit of a technique to pushing over a tree, and especially in the means of this one, we don't want them to push the trees over. They just want them to give them a bit of a shake to drop some more fruits on the floor. I remember up in the northern Kruger in Purfuri, the fever tree forests, there were many young elephants and many old elephant bulls that used to hang out there, and only the big experienced fellows really knew how to break the tree. It requires a bit of sort of a technique. It's not just to snap the tree. It requires a very specific ability to put the trunk on and sort of allow the tree to sort of move and swing and then snap. And it's like you hear that tree snap. It's like a rifle shot in the forest, and then 5, 6, 7 males arrive from all over the place to feed on the fallen tree. Alana, you say it's a very strong push. Yes, what can you imagine pushing a tree with your face? It definitely require enormous amounts of power, but he is a big earth-moving machine in his own right. I've actually harvested a whole lot of marulas that are ripening in the back of my car, which should be delicious and juicy today. And as you can see, the sun rising in the east, some beautiful clouds. I wonder what today's weather forecast looks like. Splendid day it is going to be. We're probably going to have some rain later. It's raining in Hoedspruit at the moment. I think Pridelands is inundated with a bit of rainfall. Maybe they'll be joining us a little bit later. But it's that time of year, everybody. Unexpected thunder showers. After yesterday's heat, the build-up of those clouds, it is very, very likely that there'll be more rain, and another cyclonic event of a minor scale compared to last one is on its way. So those of you who have got plans to come up to this part of the world, I do sympathise with you, because there is more rain coming. Did you get the name there?
Not really, no.
Sorry, I wasn't getting very clear comms there. I just got from Safari Lover, I think, it was shaking of trees, a learned behaviour. I'm almost certain it is. It's almost certain it is. It's the same as breaking a tree. It's not something that an elephant knows how to do. They have to learn a technique. Either they have to witness it happening, or there has to be some reward that they realise there's a benefit for. I'm sure it takes a bit of practice to get it done the first time. Just like the use of that trunk takes a fair amount of practice. But a fellow of this size, welcome back to the flies, hey Seb? The flies are definitely in full force. The trunk takes time to use, and big elephants take a bit of time to get used to pushing trees, but, you know, they do know how to push trees over after a period of time, but big trees like this require an enormous amount of strength. You think about the size of that tree there, heavily rooted. No, Jason, that's not true. That video shot years ago was falsified. That would require an enormous amount of methanol to make an elephant drunk. There was a movie years ago, everybody, of all these animals looking drunk after marulas. Unfortunately, that was not all very real. The effects those animals were undergoing were those of animals that had been tranquilized. I know it sounds horrible, but there were definitely different ethics back in the day. I see the rhino in that video, very high stepping, a very characteristic behavior of a rhino that's been darted. And the baboons were falling all over. No, elephants need to get methanol, and many of these fruits haven't even yet fermented on the floor. And in the gut, I don't think there's enough time for them to ferment. And if there was, it would require, I think James worked out the amount of literage of marulas that would require to make an elephant drunk. And it would just really, really take an enormous, enormous amount. Oh, yes, shake your head. You see, he said, I'm not drunk. I'm just enjoying my breakfast. Who said you can't eat alcohol for breakfast, he said. The marulas straight from the tree are very, very sour at the moment. They're not ripe. And the ones I've harvested and have in the boot of my car are beautiful. They go yellow now. They're nice and sweet. These ones are quite sour. And you'll eat them nonetheless. Going to push again.
Good morning, mobile stations. Lauren from WildEarth.
Oh, Kylie, elephants are never full. Elephants are never full. They're always eating. A big elephant needs to feed on 300 kilograms of wet food a day. Now, that is just a non-stop process. And as he feeds, it's coming out the other end. Every 50 minutes, elephants will drop a massive, massive stool. So it's a constant process. They are constantly feeding, constantly eating. So there's no such thing as let's have a meal and be full in the case of an elephant. That's a process. It's like a machine. It goes in and it comes out. Their digestive system's quite poor. They only really access about 40% out of the food that they feed on, which means 60% is deposited as dung, but has an enormously powerful effect because huge amounts of organisms feed and live off of the waste that elephants drop behind. It's all fermented. Guinea fowl will feed on the vegetation in the dung, the fermented vegetation, so will francolin, spur fowl. Many, many beetles and insects and flies and all sorts of things will use elephant dung for their livelihood. Okay, well, we're going to send you over to Tswalu Kalahari, who'd like to say good morning.
Well, a very good morning from the Kalahari. Let's take a look. There's a guinea fowl on our right-hand side here, busy making a noise. And, oh, there goes one. There was a guinea fowl over here that we heard from camp this morning. And we've just come into this area to take a squiz on what they were making a ruckus about, because they were going continuously. And we found the guinea fowl, but there's no signs of any predators. There are predator signs. There's spotted hyena tracks that move behind us, but I don't feel there would have been alarm calling for that spotted hyena. And so what we're doing is we're sitting nice and still, and we're just tapping into the early morning sounds of the southern Kalahari. So, very good morning. My name is Kyle. Welcome on board. And behind the camera this morning is Morgan. Welcome, Morgan. Thank you very much for joining us. And a lovely morning it is. I mean, what a beautiful view we have got in front of us. So, we are going to take a look for any signs of what animal could have been moving here and disturbing this guinea fowl. And then we're going to go a little bit further south, and we are going to go view the Mokala group of meerkats this morning. But within that given area, en route back to camp last night, we were lucky enough to see 3 young juvenile cheetah. And you folks have been introduced to Mom and 3, and hopefully we can get into that area and track them down. And hopefully spend some time with them this morning, doing a little update on them, because we haven't seen them for a couple of days, or a couple of weeks actually. And it will just be beautiful. I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes just to tap into all these lovely sounds around us. It's a very lovely orchestra we got going on this morning. And everybody's starting to wake up. So there was a question from a Jane. Good morning, Jane. What time does the sun rise in Tswalu? Well, if Morgan just gives us a view in front of you of the beautiful Coronaberg range, you'll see that those clouds are just being illuminated. And I would say in the next 15 or 20, the sun would be peeking up over the eastern boundary line. and we should have a sunrise. But then it still takes a little bit longer for it to get over the Kronenberg range. Obviously, our proximity at this point in time, we are fairly close to this beautiful geological feature. I don't know if everybody can hear the hooting, the very, very low, deep hooting noise. Very prominent call. None. It's very, very easily overlooked or missed, let's say that, because it's such a faint sound. But a very prominent call now in the grassy plains of Tswalu that is made by a hurricane button quail, one of 3 quail species we have here on Tswalu, and this being the most prominent call at the moment. Black-chested Prinia. So spending time with young animals is always such a treat, and that's where myself and Morgan decided this morning, if we can find that mother and 3, it'll be a fantastic start to the morning. But we also go into that Makala group in the hopes of potentially seeing those pups. It is still a bit early for the mom to bring them out, but just doing an update on them and hopefully getting a little glimpse of them just at the burrow entrance would be a cherry on top of the cake regardless.
Welcome back to Djuma, everybody, where we are slowly making our way south. We're going to do a big loop around and then see if we can figure out where those buffalo have gotten to. But the lions gave us the slip yesterday. They got out of this block on must have been a very hard patch of ground, and then they went all the way to the east and then south, the Djuma Private. So I was quite disappointed that they eluded me like that, but that is what they do. Wow, look at this ground beetle. Can you see him? I don't know if we're going to get him. No, we're not going to get him. There was a little ground beetle, little predatory ground beetles that move around on the ground, and they're normally very, very aggressive towards all sorts of things. It wasn't the tiger beetle. Tiger beetle has got these massive big sort of mandibles, quite predatory, but he was moving around, tapping around almost like a tuk-tuki, but not. Maybe looking for a lady friend. Is the summer of love. Everything is reproducing at the moment. The grasses, the trees, the birds, and the bees. Excuse me, I'm feeling very poetic this 1st of February. I always used to struggle with February when I was at school, the spelling of. Who still struggles with the spelling of? I just like calling it Feb, just like Seb. It's so much easier to spell. Eh, Seb? February. I mean, why is it spelled like that? Anyway, that's a topic for another day, I suppose. We are just going to go down south a little bit, check activity of the pride if they've come back in, then go follow up on the buffaloes, which are in the north. To be quite sort of aware of how we get there, because we can't access all the roads, so we've got to really be strategic in our movements. last did you see it flowing like this? Fran, you want to know why we don't hear elephants' footprints? Now, I'm pretty sure signals are going to be right after that dip. We went through a dip. Fran, so they are very silent movers. They've got really big feet. And when they stand, there's a huge compression on the bottom of the foot, at the back. The back of the foot, they're actually walking on their toes. And at the back, like these really fancy sneakers that some people wear that have got a very big cushion at the back, elephant is walking when they step. That back actually cushions them and takes all of the weight of the foot and of the body, and it expands the foot. So if you listen carefully, you can actually hear elephants, but it's not a hoof. Although they are known as near ungulates, meaning that they practically are walking on hooves, but it's a massive big pad. So it's designed for being quiet. There's actually a weight distribution that's happening the whole time. And at the same time, that pad, as it gets compressed down, pushes forward once released. So it actually helps to increase the momentum or the mobility of the elephant. Almost like you see these paraplegic runners. Ooh, is that a leopard track? No. With those blades. I think Oscar Pistorius was one on those blades, and the blades actually got a spring forward, which helps in the movement of that person. You push down and it actually helps to push you forward. So the dual purpose action, and that's what an elephant's foot is designed for. They don't have calf muscles, you see. Okay, well, let's keep heading down, and we'll check Twin Dams to the south and come around into Torchwood and see what we will find.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Oh, the other one's coming, Davy. You see? 2 ground hornbills, southern ground hornbills, to start off the morning on the other half of the Djuma feeds. It is very good to be back. You probably recognise my voice before you get to see my face. But my name is Lauren, and I do have Davy on camera. And a little bit of a late start for us, but we're out. And these 2 southern ground hornbills, I believe, are the same hornbills that have been around quarantine for quite some time. I mean, I've been gone 2 weeks, but I think this is the same pair. And they've obviously nestled themselves in the tree here. But generally speaking, they get their name from being on the ground. What do you have in your mouth? Wow. I do not know what that was, but one of them has something in their mouth, and of course they feed on the ground. And there's no limits when you're a southern ground hornbill. Lizards, even reptiles with hard shells, amphibians, small ground birds, scrub hares. There's really no limits. Aren't they beautiful? Now, I'm sure I don't need to tell you this, but I'm going to say it anyway. My plan for this morning is to head to the Hyena Den. Of course, I'm sure many of you are aware the roads are still very waterlogged. The cyclone didn't just hit the Lowveld, we also experienced it in Joburg and all across the country. It's completely overgrown here, exactly what I expected. And the roads are still extremely waterlogged. But we're going to head to the Hyena Den, and fingers crossed they're going to be there. I can tell you where Swazi is, if any of you are interested. He's outside my bedroom. Yes. He followed me all around this morning, and he's in camp. He's having a jolly good time in camp. He found a cardboard box, and apparently the box is just, well, it's the best thing he's ever found. The fun is just not stopping. Well, it's no longer a box anymore. It's torn into shreds, but he found it, and he's very happy with himself. So he's sitting in camp with a cardboard box, just in case any of you were curious as to his whereabouts. Molly, you're right. You said you always see them eating something. They're really large birds. I'm sure you can tell that already. But compared to your yellow-billed hornbills or even your red-billed hornbills or your grey, the common ones that we see here, they're extremely large. So they obviously need to eat a lot more to maintain that body size. And I mean, on average, they weigh in at around 4 kilograms. That's a big bird. A lot of body mass. And if they're only sort of surviving on insects, although insects have a lot of protein, fatty acids, they will need to supplement with a lot of other delicious delicacies. But you're right, Molly, they're always eating. Listen. Can you hear that? FC, can you let me know if you can hear that? Hyena, Davy, hyena coming in. Isn't that sound incredible? It's listening to the ground hornbill. Whoever you are, who are you? Hello? Are you coming to say hi? I've missed you guys. A lot. Mm-hmm. You can hear the ground hornbill. It keeps looking up this tree here. It's just the most wonderful sound. It sounds like it's coming from a musical instrument. It does not sound like it's coming from a bird. Who are you? I think it's one of the clan males. But hashtag WildEarth, all you hyena experts. I've lost my touch. I'll get it back, don't worry. It's so good to see a hyena. Why are you posing so perfectly? I think it's Luca. I could be wrong. Luca has a very unique sort of spot pattern on his right side. think it's Luca. But you're welcome to correct me if I'm wrong. I think he just came to say hi. Margaret, you're saying he recognises me. He probably thinks, oh no, the Scottish girl is back. She's going to talk about us all the time. That's exactly what he's thinking. But yeah, he really did come close. I wonder if they've ever scavenged from ground hornbills before. Because I'm sure if the ground hornbills are on the ground and maybe they see a hyena coming, maybe they drop whatever is in their mouth and fly up to the trees. I've never seen it, but it's possible. Michael, thank you. Good morning. Or good night. Possibly is nighttime wherever you are. And you confirm it's Luca. Okay. I've not seen Luca in quite some time, actually. When I first heard the call of a ground hornbill, when I first arrived to the bush, I was so shocked that it was coming from a bird. And we're on quarantine. So we're actually really not far away from our camp, and we could hear them this morning in camp. It's the most magnificent sound. Jackie, you're asking what the call means. Now, generally, when birds wake up in the morning, I'm sure they've probably been up a long time, but when they wake up, the territorial birds will call. And it's a territorial call that's to sort of signal, I'm still here, we're still here, we made it through the night, we're still here, and this is still our territory. And that's why birds will sing, and that's why you get the dawn chorus. They're not just singing for us, as well, that would be so lovely, but they're basically calling to say that they're still here, it's still their territory, it's communication to others of their own species and any other species that's around. And I think this is what this individual is doing right now. They can call to one another, but the other individuals in this tree, so I think this is the sort of dawn chorus for the southern ground hornbill. And apparently you can hear it up to 3 kilometres away. And you'll often find it's a duet, especially with monogamous pairs. You'll find that one starts calling and then the other one comes in, and they'll sort of duet together for the dawn chorus. Now, we obviously have a voice box called a larynx. Davi's telling me, has it got something in its mouth, Dav? I have a very small little monitor here. Do you know what it is? I missed that. But yes, our voice box is called a larynx, and normally when you're referring to birds in general, you'll say it's called a syrinx. It's a sort of different type of voice box. It's still a voice box, but it's almost one of a kind. It's buried deep inside their chest, and generally speaking, the windpipe, which we have too, it splits into 2 to go into the lungs, and this is what they use through sort of respiration to make the calls. And it's a sort of generalization for all birds. So the trachea, which we have too, will end in a syrinx, and then it branches into 2 to go into the lungs. And this is their one-of-a-kind voice box. Yeah, I don't know what that is in the mouth. Any of you have any ideas? I think it's an insect. I think it could be a grasshopper of some sort. But if any of you do know what we're looking at in the bird's mouth, please do let me know. And because this one's got a blue patch, we're looking at the female. But I think it's time to head to the Hyena Den, and hopefully I get lucky.
If you love to watch WildEarth, then we are inviting you to join our Explorers program. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic WildEarth expeditions, join our guides for a chat around the fire, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn allows us to escape into nature every single day.
Hi, I'm Kyle, and I come to you live every day here from Tswalu Kalahari in South Africa. My favorite animal in the Kalahari has to be the aardvark. Its unique appearance, its ethology, and as well as ecology within this vast ecosystem is amazing, and something that I have been really lucky to experience on foot here at Tswalu.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth. It's no secret that nature can heal. Some of our WildEarth viewers are finding solace in the outdoors close to their homes during lockdown.
This is how I keep myself busy during lockdown. Beautiful little jumping spot.
I love walking in the open spaces near my home. Provides a moment of peace in a crazy world.
This is my fire escape with some of the birds I get to see. That's what it's like in New York City during lockdown.
Being in nature helps me to cope with the challenges of life and helps me to be humble and grateful.
It's magical watching everything turn into a winter wonderland as the snow softly falls.
Been doing lots of walking, dog walking, outside at parks.
This is my Ridgeback Drake. Our little slice of paradise is a provincial park called Hopewell Ross.
Connecting with nature is critical to stay positive during these tough times. WildEarth encourages you all to find time to escape to nature.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is the call of desperation with a cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops. Oh.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Well, now that we don't have the light at the correct angle, you can see that you can't see much of what that bird has on it. And obviously, relying on coloration and pattern is a very important thing when it comes to IDing birds and animals, reptiles. But if it does call again, it has a very distinctive call, and we could easily get it to the target. But where we have stopped is at a pan moving down south, and we're just enjoying. There we go. Chanting. There's a juvenile pale chanting goshawk, and we are just enjoying the hustle and bustle of these little sociable weavers. It's a very beautiful orchestra going on here as well. We were chatting about now, if only we were so busy early morning, and we would get so much done. Ron, how old is the nest that you saw there? Let's ask Morgan to give us a little bit of a pan out on the nest. This nest is very old. I would say this nest is 10 plus easy years. That's a fairly large nest, and you can see there is a split running down the central part, so it's not one continuous nest, and you mainly have them like that, where they are 2, 3, even 4 at times individual nests within one tree. And that is a large accumulation of material. So I'd say anywhere 10 plus years. It is a very tedious job, but one that these social weavers are built for, maintaining and ensuring that that nest grows in size. And what a beautiful scene that is. Look at that. And these nests can hold 2, 3, up to 500 birds at times, these larger nests. So at this pan, that is one over there. And then, Morgan, if you just go to the left-hand side of that dead camel thorn, you'll see another one stuck into that's it. There's another one there that Morgan's going into. Just left of that dead camel thorn, you can see another large nest within that camel thorn. That's one continuous nest. You can see the structure of it, the material going up into the canopy of that tree. So that's 2 on the south and southwestern corner of this pan. And then right next to us, this is initially where we stopped, is to look at the hustle and bustle of these little birds. Look at this here, right here next to us. Look at that. And you can see once again, there's one nest in the central part of the picture, and then going to the left-hand side, there's another part of a nest. Very busy little bodies. Justin, will the nest eventually fall off the trees? So limbs do break, unfortunately for the birds and for the tree. If you look through periods where we have heavy rains, these nests' weight increases quite dramatically. And at times when that weight exceeds the bearing load of the branch or the stem, unfortunately, then you have these very, very loud noises, and that'll be from the limb actually breaking. So if I can just ask Morgan, Morgan, can you just go at the bottom of the nest and let's take a look at the supporting structure of this nest. So you want to go in just there. Take a look what is supporting both of these nests. It's that one limb right there, that one branch or the thicker part of the trunk coming up to the top left-hand corner. That is the supporting beam for both of these nests. So you got to think about how incredibly strong this tree is. Like I've mentioned numerous times, it is by far one of the strongest woods in Africa. But to bear that weight of these nests, that is remarkable. And it's not up in a vertical sense, it's actually leaning out. So if you think about a breaking point, you do have a bit more of a factor or load-bearing breaking point, being that it's bent out at an angle like that. So eventually, over years and years and years, sometimes the weight does become too heavy for these trees. But they are designed in a very tough manner, and ones that can support these massive nests out here. So camel thorn is predominantly where they build nests. You do have social weavers using shepherd's trees at times, and as well as here and there those beautiful silver cluster leaves. But this is by far one of the most prominent species used by these little birds. That bird chanting behind us, that juvenile pale chanting grasshopper. Lovely. So we thought we'd stop and share this with you. Wow. Don, have I ever seen a leopard sit on the nest? Yes, I have. I've been lucky enough to find 1 or 2 leopards. We find leopards residing in these nests, or on top of them, let me say it that. And then I've found countless carcasses of young antelope, carcasses of impala, stashed on top of these nests. It's a perfect spot for a leopard to find a comfortable and cozy spot to sit and then consume its prey. And then also to eliminate other animals from stealing it. It is the perfect spot. So we'll find bits of bones on top there sometimes the skull. And then, like I've said, I've found numerous times the actual carcasses of small antelope that have been hoisted up into this beautiful tree. And the nest becomes a platform where this leopard will sit and then consume. Leopards, cheetah use them for marking points sometimes, vantage points as well. We've got owls residing and nesting on there. We've got countless insects using these nests, wasps, bees, beetles, and then as well as lizards. Well, skinks, better termed. Skinks also utilize this nest for residing purposes. And everybody's working with each other here in conjunction with this very, very, very strong tree. All right. Like these busybodies, they are on a mission, but let's send you over to Steve, which is on a mission as well.
Thanks, Carl. Here we are, always on a mission. We picked up on lion tracks just north of Twin Dams, and we followed them. They went out, unfortunately. The whole pride, it seems the whole Djuma pride came back into Djuma last night briefly, and then went Kalahari. But definitely moving. Their tracks are over here as well from yesterday. Not that fresh. The ones that we saw now are very fresh. The dew, the condensation. You can see how the sediment is sort of attached to the feet. So we're just going to pop into Chitwa real quick and see what's going on that side. The lions might have zoomed around and come towards Chitwa Dam. It's all possible. And I like hearing leopards calling. I like hearing lions calling, especially when you're really close. Seb, what's your favorite call? Jackal is also a nice sound. Seb likes his hyenas calling. So here's some old lion tracks from yesterday. I'll demonstrate to you what I mean by the condensation. There's an impala over there. So here's the lion track over here. Can you see that? Sorry, are you there? Yeah. Here's a lion track, and it's dry. Here's the condensation from last night. You can see how wet the soil is. And here, hyenas have walked on top of it. So you can see how they've pushed up the condensation there. Whereas over here on the lion track, that isn't the case. So these lions walked yesterday, but the ones we found on Djuma, see what I do with my foot here? See the condensation in the sediment. So those lion tracks were on top of that sort of condensation. It's a very common thing this time of year. With the changing of the seasons, you're getting the difference between night and daytime temperatures. Lots of dew in the morning. And it helps us to ascertain fresh tracks. They went into Kalahari, they moved around at night, went back to Djuma, came back again. They don't have the same boundaries we have. Now we're going to go into Chitwa for the first time in a while. Are you ready, Seb?
Oh, yeah.
What are we going to see? We're going to see hippos. I'm sure we'll see some hippos. Might see some cool birds as well. Vlad the crocodile. But we'll always see impala. There's no doubt of us seeing impala. Oh, there we go. Hello, boys. Good morning. How are you fellas doing? We're looking for potentially a pride of lion. Have you seen them? Hey, what? He hasn't seen them. That was his way of saying no. I have not seen them. Okay, well, we're going to move down towards the watering. I'll see what we can find, and we send you back over to Djuma to Lauren.
Now it wouldn't be a drive with Lauren if we didn't stop and admire the dragonflies. Now, I bought an ID book you'll all be glad to know. I think Steve actually has the same one. I believe we're looking at a barbet percher here. Really, really obvious with that red coloration. Red is not a colour that you see too often in the bush. Yes, you do see it, but it's not a common colour. That sort of bright, fiery red. And if you look at the body, it looks black and white from a distance, but actually it's more sort of yellow and black colour. And it's one of the more common species that we do see out here. I'd actually go as far to say we see this one the most, actually. It's probably like butterflies, so my goodness. Egyptian geese are, well, they've started their morning very noisy. And believe it or not, there's a difference between the sexes. So the males and the females look very, very different. And I've actually got an image that I can show you because I now have a book. How fantastic. Lauren has another book. Now, if we just look here, Darby, this is the male. And then if we look here, this is a female. So you can see they do look different, but if you look at the sort of abdomen and at least the thorax, you can see that it's very, very similar. It's similar in coloration. It's got that yellow and black. It's more sort of the upper body that you'll see is different. So when you look closely at a dragonfly, you can see genitalia, and you will be able to identify the sexes. Oh, I didn't catch that, Quinn. You'll have to go again with that comment. Peter for breakfast.
Pizza.
Pizza. Pizza for breakfast. Oh, I do like having pizza for breakfast sometimes. It's very naughty. But if you have some left over from the night before, it's definitely a winner. Yes, red is a common colour in dragonflies. Absolutely, you are right. It'll be made up from carotenoid pigments. But in the entire animal kingdom out here, it's actually not a common colour. But in dragonflies, you're absolutely right. It is. But yes, just like butterflies, they have a sort of almost a cycle because they have short lifespans, as dragonflies do as well. You'll find that throughout the entire summer period, from start to finish, just right after spring, maybe even sort of towards the end of spring and at the onset of autumn, if you like, you'll see an influx in different species. So for a while, you'll find that you may see more of, let's just say butterflies, the spotted jokers. And then maybe the next month you'll hardly see any spotted jokers and you'll start to see other species. And this is because they have short lifespans, so it all depends on when the eggs were laid and when the eggs hatch as to when you'll see them. I think it's the same for dragonflies. Now, I've just dropped something out my vehicle, everyone. I obviously cannot leave this behind, so I'm just going to pick it up. I'm going to go this way. There we go. It's a piece of paper. And I believe our dragonfly has flown off. So we're at Treehouse Dam. And my goodness, it's full. It's actually flowing up ahead here. I mean, I expected all the dams to be extremely full. But only when you see it do you realise how much water we've had here. A phenomenal amount of water.
Last breeding holder involved.
Okay, the Hyena Den was not active. Sorry, everyone, I forgot to update you, but I'm sure you already guessed that. Sadly, it was not active. But we were a little bit later out this morning due to some technical difficulties, so maybe that's why. Tomorrow we'll try and get there very early. Okay, we're going to bumble on through the muddy roads, see what else we can find. We're now going to send you across to Ross to say good morning.
Good morning, everybody at home this morning, watching wherever you might be. I hope you are having a fantastic early morning game drive. We have had a bit of a late start due to weather, but as they say, better late than never. The rain has given us a brief intermission, and we've gone out to see what we can find this morning. We are in the southern part of Phinda at the moment, and it's dominated by these huge open grasslands, rolling hills that are emerald green at the moment because of all the rain we've had. And what you're looking at now is the Lebombo mountain range. It's actually one of the more significant mountain ranges in South Africa, which forms the eastern border of South Africa, runs all the way to the eastern highlands of Zimbabwe in the north. My name is Ross, and behind the camera today is Glenn, and we're coming to you live this morning from andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. And I think our plan this morning is to try and find some, either some rhinos or maybe some other grazing animals, herds of zebra, wildebeest. There's also a very good chance of coming into contact with some cheetah or lion in this area. There is a pride of lions which has its territory here. But we'll take whatever comes, and anything interesting that we come across on drive, we will stop and try and show you. So, yeah, it has been a beautiful start to the morning, and I'm very, very happy that the sun is coming out slowly but surely. So we're going to send you across now to Steve. He's sitting at a waterhole, but we're going to carry on into these grassy hillsides and see what we can find for you.
Thank you, Ross. Good luck with your search this morning. We have made it down to the fullest I've ever seen chitwa looking. And this little fellow has decided to come and say hello. There we go. Seb, you said we'd see hippos. There is one. The water's very deep, everyone. I reckon quite a number of the hippos have been displaced from this, their favourite watering hole. I'm going to keep quiet for a moment while you listen to the waves lapping up against the bank here and the water flowing over the spillway. Beautiful, beautiful, isn't it? It's very peaceful listening to flowing water. Washes a lot of the organic material out. Some of the floating plants. Tandeka, isn't it just a lovely scene? Sorry about the game drive radio. We're trying to let the others know that the tracks have gone south. But no one could hear us before. My new spirit animal on the left there, Seb, the Hardy-dar Ibis. It's come very strongly to me of late. Hardy-dar Ibis, a very grounding bird. They spend a lot of time on the ground. They do fly, but they walk for the most part. And their beak is designed for probing. So here along the water's edge, the water's obviously filled up with the banks and filled up. And any worms or any organisms that was living in the soil before would have to be forced up. Earthworms cannot survive in water. They have to still breathe oxygen. You'll find many worms pushed up due to the water levels rising. And I wonder when last the water was at this level. Corbett, I'd love to find you an otter. Otters are very, very cool. Oh, there goes a jacana flying, I think. This one that's going to land. Is it going to land? There's a jacana. Yes, it is a jacana.
I was filming his shadow on the water.
There he's coming back again. I can only tell because of the size of his feet. Oh, he's landed on the side of the bank there. There we go. Checking that Seb still knows what he's doing. So Corbett, otters would be great to see. I don't know if they've been recorded in this stream before, in the Mulwanini or the Mulwati. Some of the viewers could maybe tell me if they have been. I know that they're very sort of perennial river systems, so along the Sand River, the Lavuvu River, Olifants River, a very good chance of finding otters. I remember being on a walk up in the Lavuvu, which is right up in the north, and on a walk saw this otter chasing a crocodile, which I thought was quite incredible. I thought he was a very brave otter. Chased a crocodile off the bank with some very kind words, I reckon. Have you ever noticed hippos' ears so hairy? I've never noticed how hairy their ears are. Probably helps to protect the tips of the ears against the sun. Nothing worse than burnt ears. Of course, Zach. I mean, there's nothing to stop the water from being this high. And the reason it is this high is because berms have been put in to stop the water from flowing out. Many of the areas in these parts of the world, the water would flow in a stream and it would be gone. So damming of waters is a very common process these days, but obviously damming comes with many ecological sorts of positives and negatives. You're putting water in an area for a long period of time, but this watering hole has been here for a number of years already, and being fuller just means it will be able to sustain animals longer into the season. 2 years ago, this nearly dried up. It's the first time I think it's ever gotten as low as it did, but all the other watering holes we have around Djuma were all completely dry 2 years ago, and it's a has very big impacts on hippo populations, on water-dependent mammals such as buffalo and elephant, even zebra and wildebeest. So water is the currency of life. Brings life, and it also washes it away. Okay, well, we're going to move around onto the other side and go see what else is happening on Chitwa.
insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off. It's just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
The cock's holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it? Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend. You've got a friend in me.
It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we're coming to you live from the Chobe River?
It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live, and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth Daily.
Welcome back to Chitra. We've just repositioned slightly, trying to get a view of this jacana that, here he comes again on this side. He's going to come land on these little reeds. African jacana, there he is. Here he comes. He's flying. Oh, the sun's very bright. There he goes. You can just see the giant feet. He's trying to figure out, there's actually two of them. I wonder if they're competing for some territorial space. Now, obviously, the watering hole has increased, but it will have washed away a lot of the... They are fighting. Will have washed away a lot of the territorial, or should I say, the leaf matter, the floating vegetation that these fellows use for breeding. And so right now, either this is a courtship display, or it's two males fighting over the same lily pond. Nice work, Seb. Better flies than you would think. It's like a game of tennis. Look at those giant feet. Lolly, well, the entire environment here has changed. There's actually quite a lot of birds. There's lots of thick-knees, there's lots of plovers or lapwings, there's geese, there's a fish eagle at some point, but the entire environment has changed. Because the water level's risen, it's changed. So lots of it is sort of going into a new state. Sorry about the game drive radio. And so as it settles, you'll notice that certain birds will start to establish. The jacanas, for example, are looking for the right kind of vegetation for breeding. The thick-knees, plovers, sandpipers, I'm sure there's plenty of them around the edges. The fish eagle are always in attendance. The weavers are always doing their thing. So there are plenty of birds. We just haven't really gotten all the way around to frame them all. I just saw green-backed heron fly into the bushes. There are franklins all around. But this whole environment has changed because of the rain. So it takes a bit of time to settle. And if you're a bird that likes sort of low vegetation or lots of aquatic, lots of plant vegetation, a lot of that's been washed away. It's going to take time to resettle. So there should be, but I haven't been able to see any yet. There should be crocodiles. There's definitely fish in here, but the size of the watering hole is so much bigger than before that there's a lot more scanning required to find them. And we've only just arrived. Where we were parked before, we couldn't actually see anything because of the angle of the sun. And I will warn you all, don't do it. Don't use your binoculars into the sunshine. As tempting as it might seem, it's not worth it. Not worth it at all. There we go, well done. And our fish eagle pair will always be here and around. This is their territory for defending. Okay, well, we're going to stay here, maybe move around the dam a little bit and send you back over to Lauren.
Now look what we have came across. I'm going to be honest with you all and say I don't know what species this is. It's a spider, I know that much. It looks a little bit like a bark spider, but it's very large, really, really large. It was feasting on something that doesn't look too delicious. Caught in the web. I don't actually know what it is. It looks like feces, but it can't be. It has to be an organism of some sort, or a dead organism. I think it's been wrapped in silk, and that's probably why we can't identify it. But that's what it's been feasting on. It's huge. It's almost the size of an orb web spider. And unfortunately, we're looking at the underside, which is not ideal. Makes it a little bit trickier to identify. And when it comes to males and females in spiders, I just spoke about the dragonfly, the barbed percher. It's not always easy, believe it or not. Sometimes the female completely sort of outsizes the male, but it's not always the case. So in order to do that, scientists... Oh, hello. Scientists have had to obviously look closely at the genitalia in order to properly say is this male or female. And a wonderful paper, I know it sounds a little bit crude, but they discovered that the female's genitalia was clogged. What I mean by clogged is there was lots of dirt, and I use that word very loosely, and, well, unidentifiable little bits inside her genitalia. So they didn't understand what was going on. Oh, did you see that? That spider just hit the toilet, live. If you've never seen a spider poop, you just did. It's not poop as we know it. It's very much liquid, in liquid form. That does not look yummy. But yes, on closer inspection, basically the dirt was actually male body parts. It's not dirt, it's not debris, it's not anything that's picked up from the natural environment. It's male body parts. And to be precise with you all, it's the very, very tip of their pedipalps. And what's a pedipalp? Well, spiders don't just have one sort of genitalia. They don't just have a penis. They actually have two. They have twin penises. Yes. And they can break off the tip of that and leave it inside the female genitalia. Now, I know that sounds, a little bit crude, but it's absolutely fascinating. Think about evolution. Think about sexual selection, the sort of divergence of the two sexes. And basically, male spiders, who sometimes don't even stand a chance, they're tiny, and they come across an extremely hangry female. Have you ever met hangry females? Have you, Davy? No. Well, it's not fun. Sometimes they will eat the male, even before he's had the chance to secure his own sort of bloodline. So in order to really secure his paternity, what they do is they leave their body parts inside. They break it off, out, and after copulation, once they've sort of, copulated, shall we say, he leaves it behind. And what he's trying to do is not a souvenir. It's not to say, hey girl, don't forget me. It's to block. It's to block other males. James Richard, good to hear your name, and you've confirmed this is a bark spider. Thank you so much. I think this is the largest bark spider that I've actually seen. Anyway, it's stunning. Look at those black and white banded legs. So yes, they call this plugging. And I know that sounds slightly strange, but it's actually scientifically called plugging. I'm not being vulgar. And it happens all across the animal kingdom, especially in insects and arachnids. But it's very, very popular among spiders. And one male's tip of his pedipalp will not be enough to sort of block her. But he's trying to make an attempt to stop other males being successful with this female. And this boils down to sperm competition. So lots of males can do it. And in the end, when you see a sort of older female, she will have lots of different males' pedipalp tips inside her genitalia. Yes, that was a tough one to get out. But it's incredible when you think about the evolution and why they do this and what they've got to face, the fact that the females are bigger, other males, competition. Alice, you like the black and white bands on the legs. Yes. It's gorgeous, isn't it? Almost looks like he's wearing a jail suit. He's escaped out of prison. Or she. This is most likely the female. And one of the sort of really good example of the plugging, shall we say, is the black widow spider. And one study showed that the particular female that they were looking at, she had 5 different pedipalp tips inside her genitalia. So it's not really a block. I guess it's an attempt to block. But that first plug will not persuade other males not to mate with her. So again, it comes back to that question, why? Why do the males do that? Why do they break the tip off their own pedipalp to block a female if it doesn't persuade or doesn't stop other males from mating with her? And once a male does break off that tip, now remember he's got 2 pedipalps, he's effectively neutered. They don't grow back. So he can only do that twice, and then, well, he can't successfully mate anymore. It's basically an act of self-mutilation, which is not very pleasant to think about. So again, you've got to ask why? Why would an organism do that to themselves? And the scientific studies sort of concluded that although other males can then go on to mate with that exact female, it doesn't prevent other males. It does sort of make it more difficult for them. And that's exactly why they do that. When a male tries to mate with a female that's already got a plug inside of her, it makes it a lot difficult. And it will block the sperm to some extent. So then there's a chance that possibly the first male will be the only male to mate with her successfully and continue on his bloodline. Slowly feasting. look how delicately this bark spider is just clinging on, using his hind legs to its own web. That's how strong silk really is. Jacqueline, you'll probably find that because they're in a web, birds would come along and prey on the spider. If they're on the ground, then they're of course vulnerable to many different organisms, especially reptiles, larger reptiles. But I think birds would be your best bet. We actually got out the vehicle, and once you get out the vehicle, they can be a little bit skittish, believe it or not, and they'll immediately scuttle away to the safety of the trees. I really did not used to like spiders. Not that I didn't like them. I had a phobia, as many of you know. But really, when you start to learn about them, my goodness, they're incredible. There's actually a great example of the Tadaran Spider. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Tigarren. And they only have one pedipalp, not twin. And when they mate with the female, they completely break off. Oh. Did you see that? It just raced to eat a fly. Wow. Maybe fresh flies are a little bit tastier. See how quickly they move. I know some of you won't enjoy watching this, but this is a particularly beautiful spider. So yes, the Tadaran species, they only have one pedipalp and they break off the entire thing to plug the female. The entire thing. And he will die there and then in the female's embrace. And that's it. Yes. You use your entire genitalia as a plug. And once you break it off, the female actually grabs you and turns you around and will eat you. And apparently even when he detaches his pedipalp, it can actually pump sperm for hours and hours later, even though it's no longer attached to the male's body. So she will be walking about with, well, yes, I don't know how to say that in a different way. But the animal kingdom for you. So the female's snacking on his body and his pedipalp is continuing to provide her with sperm. Incredible. Okay, we're going to let this bark spider enjoy breakfast, and now we're going to send you across to Steve.
Thanks, Lauren. Well, the spider caught what did the spider say to the fly? I suppose it's lunch. We are still in Chitwa. We're just having a little scratch around on the southern side. See if we pick up on any tracks of Sabui's cubs or Sabui herself. And I might go and see if there's any activity in the area where Tristan left Maribs. I'm also just listening to the radio. The guys are following the tracks of the Djuma Pride from where we left them on Gari Main, and it sounds like they're heading south. So I came up for a moment. Oh, we got a very fast-moving spexed hinged tortoise. Better catch him before he goes too quickly away. There he is. Hello, little fella. I think he's about to charge, Seb. And just like that. Gone. That's right. You probably feel a lot safer now that he's not out in the road, not exposed. We're going to carry on checking on Chitwa for now. In the meantime, over to Tswalu Kalahari with their favourite little meerkats. Oh yeah. Welcome back. That was short-lived. Apologies. We are on the airstrip and we've found some elephants. Splendid indeed. Again, under the Marula Tree. Here comes a short young boy, just the way he's behaving. He was coming out to challenge us, and Mum gave him probably a very quiet word and said, "Cedric, enough." You see that, can't you, Seb? Very quiet word said there between Mum and son.
She's got nice tusks.
She's got beautiful tusks. Beautiful tusks. He's going to try again. He's feeling very naughty. See, he's looking at us. He's also trying to eat his marula fruits. Eat your breakfast, young boy. Beautiful hibiscus-looking flower on the right there. Lee thought he was sweating. I didn't think he was sweating. I think it's just his head was streaming. The glands on the side of the head. Elephants stream. She's quite pregnant. And she's probably got a new baby on the way, and he is the last one that she had. And so he's obviously not getting the same amount of attention. He's probably a little bit more stressed. He's probably tried to suckle a few times because she's obviously, when she's pregnant again, she starts to become ready and lactating again. And so he's probably been like, "But Mum, I used to suckle from you for almost 2 years, and now you say no." So it's possible that is what's happened. They don't actually sweat. Elephants cool down by flapping their ears. It's possible I didn't actually notice too much. Maybe he's also wet. The vegetation is quite damp in the morning from the saturation and condensation from the atmospheric change. discussing that in the tracks before. She's very, very relaxed. Okay, well, let's send you back over to Tswalu and try again.
Well, a lot of cuteness going on here this morning. And everybody looking a little sleepy to start off this cold morning. So this is the Makala group of meerkats. Yesterday morning we visited the rock stars. So we hadn't been there for a little while, but we thought we'd come here with the hopes of viewing, if we're lucky enough, those brand new individuals. The sun is already starting to warm up, which is great for them. And then also our chance of seeing those little ones. There's a lot of loving going on this morning. It was fairly chilly last night, and there's a lot of dew that settled on vegetation. So ensuring that you warm up first and you don't get your fur wet en route out to forage is obviously very important. So burrow maintenance, socializing, and then just waking up is what is happening here now. Sure, Fiona, good morning. How many groups of meerkats are there on Tswalu? There are plenty. I don't know, I don't think we've ever done a count on how many groups, and I think it'd be a very difficult thing to do. But there are many groups of meerkats within Tswalu. I've seen, I'd be lying to you if I told you a number, but there's lots of meerkats on Tswalu. To get an understanding of how many on Tswalu, it's fairly hard because they move around and they move through fairly large areas. So to get a count would be a very tricky thing unless you start marking them. And it would be a very tedious and very costly exercise to mark a meerkat so that you know that that meerkat is from this group and you know you've counted that group. So I'm not too sure, but a lot of meerkats in terms of groups we have on Tswalu. And when it comes to small animals, to get a count on them is a fairly hard thing. For larger ungulates, hoofed ungulates, we can do annual game count, and obviously they're a bit easier to count because of their sheer size. Carnivores, we can obviously count them because of their size as well. But these smaller animals, it's a very difficult process to try and understand how many are. Just by driving around my time in Tswalu, I can understand that the population of meerkats in Tswalu is very healthy because of the amount of groups that I've seen. God, this chap's falling asleep. This individual's dozing off while on guard duty. Guy's weaving. Oh man, that's funny. It's gonna go down like a log just now. Now, Victor, would another group ever merge with another? Splinter groups, yes. But a group that is established within a given territory, I highly doubt it. So when you have a young...
Welcome. Sorry about that, everybody. We've just had impalas behaving crazily here on Chitwa, doing that rocking horse gait, that run that they do. I don't see anything. I can see them in front of us here. And when they do that, it often means wild dog. But sometimes they also just do that for fun, to warm up, to get our blood flowing. What have you seen, ladies? I haven't seen anything. Haven't seen anything. This is where I had the wild dogs last time. Okay, well, we're going to see if we can figure out what's causing these animals so much distress. In the meantime, send you over to Prrivate to say good morning to Mike.
Nice, warm, a little bit cloudy, very humid, quiet morning so far, sitting here at Leopan, just hoping something might pop out of the bushes in this bit of an open patch that we've got in front of us. We're actually hoping specifically for a group of lions that was spotted last night late in the evening. It was already quite dark. Hopefully, sitting here quietly, we might just get the sound of them contact calling. Hi everyone, my name is Mike Anderson. Behind the camera we've got Gert, and you've joined us at Eco Training's Pride Lands Conservancy. As I said, we're sitting at Leopan, Lion Pan. There was calling earlier this morning. About an hour ago, someone heard lions calling from somewhere north and east of our Eco Training camp, which is where we are right now. We've just been sitting here for the last 5 minutes or so, hoping that those lions will contact call once again. They weren't doing the normal roar, that very loud sound that lions do when they're calling over huge distances, especially males trying to establish their territories, or at least confirm them. More like the contact calling between mother and youngsters. So the lions that were spotted last night by the landowner, not so far from our camp, were 2 lionesses and 3 youngsters. Cubs, you could almost call them. They were very small. So we're hoping that they're around. Tracks and signs have been seen of them over the last few days, but it was the first time that they've been seen by someone, so we're hoping that they're still around the area, haven't gone too far. It's a very nice, big open marshy area, kind of place where lions would come to drink. Hammond, it's a good question. Welcome to the show. Hammond, Lagatha hasn't been seen for a while. I think the last time she was seen was on that open clearing that was close to what we call Impala Plains on our northern boundary. Since then, she hasn't been seen, but hopefully she's still around. I mean, as far as we know, that she was doing very well. She was looking healthy. She's well-muscled, not full. She was chasing impalas up and down. She wasn't successful, but hopefully, I mean, she survived this long. I'm sure she's going to continue surviving, Hammond. There was a very interesting bird that just called now. You hear that? Somewhere in these long grasses, lots of crakes have been spotted over the last few weeks in this area. The abundance of rain that has been falling in the low-felt areas of southern Africa or South Africa has been incredible. In many places doubling the yearly rainfall, and we've still got a couple of months left of the wet season. So it's extremely wet here, and that has brought with it these ephemeral pans or seasonal pans filling up. And with all them filling up after many years of dry weather, all the vegetation that's now sprouting creates a habitat for lots of birds that like this kind of sheltered, wet environments. We saw recently a corn crake, which is the first time that I spotted it. That was here on Pride Lands. We've been seeing lesser moorhens. And I'm sure there are other crakes in this very patch right here. So we're going to sit around here and maybe be lucky enough to get a glimpse. There it goes, there it goes. Oh, it's a white-faced whistling duck. That's not what was calling, but it's good to see that there is life here.
Imagine having your own secluded African bush home where you and your friends can enjoy the ultimate safari experience. If you sign up to be a WildEarth explorer, this could become a reality. Tumbeta House is located in the heart of Djuma Private Game Reserve, the home of WildEarth. You could win a chance to stay at this intimate wilderness retreat, offering you the rare and highly sought-after privilege of your own home in the bush. The prize includes 3 nights for 6 people and includes daily game drives, a chance to see the WildEarth camp, and have dinner with one of our guides. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer before the end of February 2021, and you could be heading to Djuma, the place that we call home. Available dates are limited, so terms and conditions apply.
What makes andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve so special is our massive array of habitats. And with that comes, of course, a beautiful diversity of landscapes, but also an incredible biodiversity in terms of plants, bird life and animal life, as well as, of course, our conservation success stories with cheetah, with rhinos, now with pangolins too.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth. Do you dream of traveling to a far-flung wilderness location where life continues as normal? A place where you can escape to nature and breathe. If you become a WildEarth explorer, then this could soon become a reality. Subscribe today and stand a chance to win regular travel prizes. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
So there we go, look. All 3 in one frame. Look at that, isn't that cool? Oh, that is so special. That is exactly what we had been hoping for, is all 3 of them to come together and make the perfect little family portrait.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Welcome back, everyone. And what we found for you at the moment, or what we are spending some time with right now on the top of this hill, is a few giraffe, 2 of which are 2 young males, which are presently engaged in a bit of play fighting. You have a look at these 2 here. There's one in front which seems a little bit more reluctant to spar with the other male, but the one at the back really is trying his best to get his friend to play with him. But he's not having any luck for the moment. But a little bit earlier, and I'm sure we'll see again, they were standing side to side, toe to toe, as it were, and they were swinging their necks at each other, aiming at their bodies or the other giraffe's neck, and just sort of practicing for one day when there are older males. And this is exactly how they'd compete for females. Also, just off picture, there's a few zebra and a few other giraffe as well. So at the moment, Lucas, you asked if these fights are ever fatal. And yes, they have been known to be fatal at times, but there's definitely varying degrees of intensity, and this one is one of the more relaxed play fights that I've ever seen. I think what we're seeing here is just two youngsters kind of practicing for one day when they are much older, and it's very crucial. Like all animals, they kind of play when they're younger, just to exercise those muscles that they might need. It's part of their instinct as well, just to kind of play. But there have been instances of big male giraffes going full on at it, and striking each other underneath the chin or even on the head somewhere, and knocking each other down, and sometimes actually fatally wounding each other. But those are very rare instances. Normally, even though they hit each other very hard, neither one of them actually dies or is seriously injured. But the power behind the swings of those necks is immense. These animals are huge, and if we were to be hit by a giraffe swinging his neck at us, it would definitely seriously injure us. But because they're so big themselves, they can kind of take it. But I think this bout has sort of worn its course. Doesn't look like they are playing much longer. The one in the furthest away from us is actually starting to feed again, which is a sure sign that he's kind of lost interest. They're standing just in front of a big Marula tree. You can see most of the leaves on that tree that are remaining are just above the height which they would be able to reach. Giraffes do eat Marula leaves, but they do prefer thorn trees like the ones that they're standing amongst now. They're really good at getting those small little leaves, manipulating them into their mouths with their tongue between the vicious thorns that are protecting them. And now even the other giraffe is starting to feed as well, and that small little thorn tree with bright green leaves looks like some new growth, some beautiful nutritious leaves on that tree. But we're going to send you now across to Tswalu. They've got some active meerkats that they're busy watching, and we'll send you over to them now. All right, Victor, would groups ever emerge? So groups are established, and they have a very distinctive area in which they operate. And if you look within the group, everybody has a unique scent signature. So for groups to emerge and to join up, it will almost never happen, because that opposing group would smell different, and that would be a threat to you and your clan members. How individuals come together is from splinter groups breaking off, and these splinter groups are mainly males. Males have this tendency to move off from the natal group. Females generally like to stay within their clan. There's occurrences where females move off, don't get me wrong, but males definitely like to do it more. And what will happen is that you'll have splinter groups of males or a splinter group of mixed individuals moving off from their colony once the colony grows to an extreme size where communication becomes a problem or resources have been depleted within the area. Then these splinter groups meet up with other splinter groups, and from there they would join up to form a new clan. But for established colonies to meet up with another colony to join is a very, very, very unlikely thing. Because you are within the area and you are operating in this area and in a given area, you have everything you need, and you don't want other individuals fringing on that those resources. Sorry. So no, merging of groups very unlikely, but splinter groups definitely. But when you're in a splinter group, you're also in a very dangerous situation because you don't have the protection of other individuals. And also lack of vigilance. You are easily caught off guard from a predator. So it's a very tricky and a very troublesome and very worrisome time when you break off from your original clan and go off to establish yourself in another group. And that's also if you would want to have the hopes of reproduction. You've got within this group there's a set order, dominant male and female. Larger groups you can have a secondary female breeding, but if you want a real good chance, you want to establish yourself in a new group, and hopefully you are strong enough, you have got what it takes to become a dominant individual. Josh, can meerkats walk upright? That would look very funny. I'm just thinking about it and I'm laughing. No, they cannot. Their hips aren't placed in the correct manner. If you think about our hip placement along with our spine, and then along with the attachment of our skull onto our spine, it's attached in a very set or very set manner to allow an individual to walk up, being bipedal. Over here you can see, if you take a look at the one that's utilizing his tail there and standing upright, you can see the hips and the way he's thrusting his hips forward and pushing his stomach out. So showing that he's using his tail to push himself forward, and then he's applying pressure with his hind legs to get that vertical position. But without the support of that tail, for his hips to rotate in the correct manner would be a very difficult task. So no, they cannot walk upright. It would be very funny if they could, but they don't have the correct hip placement. Being bipedal is obviously an amazing advantage because it gives us the ability to see further, unlike a meerkat that when it does want to move, it has to then diminish or minimize the visual aspect of standing upright to get on all fours to move from point A to point B. But still, a very nice advantage to gain a bit of height to seek and look for predators while out in the field. You can see they use quite a large portion of the tail as well. About a quarter, a bit more than a quarter they use to support their weight. So the tail is then pushed in the ground, and then they're basically using the central part of the tail to push themselves forward, and then applying pressure with their hind feet to gain that upright position. Lovely sounds around us. The very sharp calls here. On the right, that's the white-browed sparrow weaver. But from these small, very social mammals, let's send you over to Ross with a tall mammal.
These are definitely a swap for a small animal for a much, much larger one. The tallest animal, or the tallest mammal on Earth. Actually, the tallest animal. I don't doubt there's any reptiles taller than this giraffe. But have a look now. You can see this giraffe, which is currently in your screen, feeding on this thorn tree. And you can see how dexterously his tongue and his lips pluck these leaves off of the branch. Very, very, very prickly business. and this giraffe's tongue and lips are super tough to be able to feed on the food that he does. Just behind this thicker bush at the moment, but I'm sure he'll start to feed so that we can see it soon. We know this is a male giraffe because have a look at the top of his horns. These horns, first of all, the proper name for them is ossicones. They're not actual horns like antelope. The top of his ossicones are bare. They're bald, and this differs from females in that females have fur, that black fur, all the way over the top. So that's pretty much the easiest way to tell. There, now have a look at this little tongue. He's decided to move on to another bush. Interesting that this giraffe is choosing how he's selecting his food. I mean, they have very, very long necks, so they're probably more comfortable eating at a higher height than what he's eating at now. But I think the particular tree that he's feeding on is just so much more tasty for him, full of nutrients, than the other trees that are behind him. He was briefly feeding on that Marula tree, but they are absolutely loving these thorn trees. This one in particular is called a sickle bush. Sorry, no, it's not. It's actually called a scented pod thorn. The one before was called a sickle bush. They've also got beautiful long pods that look like a string of beads that when they do come into fruit, giraffes like to feed on as well. So Lolly, you've asked, does their diet change in different areas? And it definitely does. Giraffes occur all throughout Africa. There's 6 different subspecies of giraffe, but they all feed on leaves of trees. But in different areas in Africa, there are completely different species of trees that occur, and they will change what they eat as they are found in different areas. Even in different times of the year, they change their diet to focus on what's available at that specific time. If one particular species of tree is sort of coming into full foliage, the giraffes will focus on that one, and then maybe 2 or 3 months later, when another certain tree and then 3 months later when another certain tree. But these trees are actually also, they've evolved to try and defend themselves against giraffes in quite a few ways. The thorns that we're seeing on these trees are one way that they try and attempt to protect themselves from giraffes feeding on them, because it's like you can see, this giraffe is stripping this tree almost bare of its leaves in one little feeding session. But on top of that, a lot of trees also have a chemical defense that is what I think much more effective. The trees, when they sense that they're under attack, some species of trees emit these pheromones that cause the tree to release a lot of tannins, which makes the trees less palatable for giraffes. And so after about 5 minutes of being fed on, the tree will start to taste super bad, and the giraffe will move on to the next tree. And that's just a way for them to make sure that giraffe doesn't stay at one tree and eat all of the leaves off it at once. There's even some trees that actually emit these pheromones, and the trees around it can sense that there is a giraffe that's feeding on a tree in the area, and they will also start to release bad tasting tannins to prevent the giraffes feed on them. So in that way, trees can actually communicate with each other to prevent animals that feed on them from doing so, which I think is fascinating.
Sorry about that. I thought you were live with me already, everybody. I've been talking for a few minutes. Hello. Well, let me go back to what I was talking about. We found tracks of what I think is Marib's, Tandy's cub, Tandy's little boy, gone into this block here. That's where Tristan's been spending a lot of time with him there towards the Mwanini. He came from Chitwa campsite. And sorry, I'm just going to turn this right off because it is very loud and obtrusive. And so the trucks came up this way and they've gone into the block there. So I'm just going to come around, see if they haven't come out, see if maybe he's in the same area he might have been, but I'm sure he's moved. He's hungry. But no tracks of Mum, just one. Just the boy getting a little bit more adventurous. Mum told me to stay here, but I'm going to walk around a bit. But he's going to make sure he's there when she gets back. That's for sure. That's why I feel like he might be in the same spot. And if he's not, it means that she's come back and gotten him and they've gone off somewhere. And who knows where that could be. Could it be north into Torchwood? We haven't actually checked that spot yet. We were on this road earlier. There were no tracks coming out. It's not the biggest of blocks, so if we don't find him where we think we might, then I'll go back to that last track and have a little scratch around. It is quite high up on the crest here, so the trees indicate good soil, but we will still check and see what's happening. But in the meantime, let's just head around the block and see if we can pick up on any tracks of this young boy.
When on safari, there's nothing better than an evening spent under the stars chatting around a fire, with the sounds of the wild all around you. If you sign up to be a WildEarth explorer, you can build your own memories by joining our guides for regular fireside chats. Subscription payments can be made by PayPal, credit card, and now bank transfer. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is a call of desperation with a cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops. Oof.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily. Have you been watching WildEarth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. WildEarth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live WildEarth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations, anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply. In a world full of upheaval, we all need a quiet and safe space to breathe. A place where anxiety and stress don't exist. A place where life carries on as normal. Escape to nature with WildEarth.
Hi, I'm Damon, and I come to you live every day from andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve
here in South Africa. I think the most underrated wild animal is the buffalo. And I think many people want to see them because they're a member of the Big Five. But then once it's ticked off the list, it's on to go and look for things like big cats or herds of elephants. It's quite a sensory overload, taking in their smell and the sounds of them moving around you.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Didn't talk as much as we did either.
We didn't talk as much as back in the day. I talk a lot these days. We have a lot of activity going on with these meerkats. Not much words, but a lot of wrestling going on right now. These young individuals are testing their skills with one another. And very important to do, but a very nice activity for young individuals to go through. And like young individuals are, they're just sometimes just bored and they just want to play. Joe. Somebody's still on lookout. So there would be no injury from this behavior, or very minimal. You don't want to injure your sibling. This is just to test one's skill, to burn off extra energy. You could imagine now the amount of resources around that they have more than is required. So having the time and the energy to do this is lovely. You can see that they're going to start moving off shortly. There's one or two individuals already starting to move away from the burrow system. So taking it very slowly, early morning like this is very important. You don't want to rush this process. Cleo, are they larger than mongoose? It depends which mongoose species we're looking at. You get species of mongoose which are larger than meerkats, and then you get species of mongoose which are around about the same as meerkats. We're talking about body weight and we're talking about general length. So meerkats are anywhere between 700 and about 900 grams, especially when a female is pregnant. That's the general weight of a meerkat. You get the large grey mongoose, which I can't actually remember how large a large grey mongoose, but hence the name large grey. It is large, larger than that of mongoose. Meerkats. But very efficient with that light body frame. Because banded mongoose would be nearly a kilo to about 1.5 kilos, if I can remember correctly. So already that is larger than that of the meerkat. Do meerkats eat anything? Invertebrates make the majority of their diet. Beetles, beetle larvae, especially through this period, where the larvae will be underground, which they would unearth with their long claws and really remarkable digging behavior. But we just saw one eat a corn cricket or an armoured ground cricket. These ground crickets do have a defensive mechanism, which would be the spiny and very hard exoskeleton. And then they do produce a foul smelling substance from the abdomen. But it didn't seem to deter the adult meerkat to take a quick early morning snack on one of them. And there's so many at this point in time. But then they'll go after lizards and geckos. I've heard accounts and read accounts that they have eaten lizards and geckos. I've seen them unearth a legless skink and eat a legless skink. But yeah, so consuming majority of their diet consists of invertebrates, scorpions as well. But then we'll go on to one or two reptiles here and there. And while we're talking about these armoured ground crickets, while we're looking at these beautiful meerkats, a question was asked a couple of days ago on how many grasshopper or locust species do we have? A rough figure would be about 13, but just take into account that within one species you can have up to 10 or 13 related or similar species within that group. So there could be way more, but a rough estimate, 13 different species occurring on Tswalu. And that is great. And very important for a food source, especially for meerkats, birds, And then larger carnivores such as genet, they would also consume these orthoptera organisms. So back onto that weight question, between 700 and 900 kilograms, but then the mongoose family, you do have a wide variety of species, and that banded mongoose between 1 and 1.6 kilograms or 1.5 kilograms would be larger already than this specific species, the meerkat. And off we go. So the days of foraging has started. You can see from the activity, nobody's sitting around the burrow entrance anymore. They are definitely starting to move off. And from here, it is a full day ahead of them, looking for food and then also watching out for predators throughout the day. Still got visual there, Morgan. There's one just tucked up in the thick of things here. But the meerkats are on the move, but let's send you to Lauren, who is also on the move.
I am on the move, but we've spotted another ground hornbill, so I'm just driving really, really carefully. I don't want to scare it. Can barely see it above the long grass, my goodness. But when they're on the ground, it normally means that they're hunting. So, a few more. Yeah, you good here, Davy? Now, I don't know if this is the same one from this morning. You could guess, but it's speculation. There's no sort of key identification features that would actually allow us to say that it is or it's not. And like Molly mentioned this morning, they're always eating, they're always hunting. Birds are endothermic just like us. So they're fueled by food. Food is the energy. We all love food, don't we? I definitely love food. Oh, hello, there's two of you. They have such a regal walk about them. The Duke and Duchess of the hornbills. But yes, they're fueled by food. Food is the energy source. It sort of allows the metabolism to sustain itself, which maintains the internal body temperature at the same temperature. They don't rely on the sun. They're not ectothermic like reptiles or insects. They're not solar powered. They're endothermic. So in order to maintain a constant body temperature, they have to eat. They have to eat enough, and that's exactly why they're doing it, to sustain their energy levels for a large body. Okay, let's see if we can get a little bit closer, Davy. And I'm not entirely familiar with chickens too much, but I would say so, yes. I think chickens have longer legs. They're a little bit sort of taller, but yes, I would say they're larger than chickens. But great question. Okay, I just want to get round this tree. But sometimes if they get a fright, they obviously fly up, and I don't want them to do that. I want to see them eaten. Now, with a beak like that, really, there's nothing out with their reach. Now, if you look at hornbills, especially in Asia, there's such a large variety of hornbills. Some really fantastic looking ones, especially on the continent of Asia. They're fast movers, these hornbills, believe it or not. Okay, Dobby, I'm just going to get past this marula. Okay, there we go. They have actually got long legs, but a chicken definitely has longer legs. But in terms of the body mass, they're so large. I'm going to guess that this is the same monogamous pair from quarantine. We're not too far away. But I could be wrong. You see them constantly scanning. They're very visual, as with most birds. So they're looking for movement. They're looking for prey. They also have very good hearing. So they'll hear movement. If something is slithering or crawling. Jabu, you're saying they have a nice swagger? Something like that. They do. They have a nice bob to their walk. I'm going to go with that one. And they do. It's the way they hold their head up high, I think, that gives them that unique walk. Okay, let's try and catch up with them. I am on my way to check the Hyena Den again. Tristan said he found it active at a very strange or unusual time the other day. So I thought, why not just check again? It's running. I don't know why that's funny, but it is. To see them run like that. Now, they're really not common. They're listed as an uncommon resident, and what that means is they don't migrate, but they're not common, they're not found everywhere, but we seem to be really lucky right now. There's also an active nest up in Buffelshoek near Cruise Camp, and we seem to be seeing hornbills all around here. Makes you think they're common, but generally speaking, they're not. They're really not a common bird to see or hear. And they're listed as vulnerable by the IUCN, that International Union for the Conservation of Nature. That's the body that classifies animals. Now, it's normally a global population. They don't tend to isolate, but it's a fantastic website. It's a fantastic tool if you are looking for information on populations and why species are in decline. You just go to iucnredlist.org. There's lots of information in there. They have actually been known, they've got a bad reputation for breaking windows. Now, we have a problem with the red-billed hornbills in camp, always tapping on the windows. And I watch them. Sometimes they wake me up from naps and I get the most terrible fright, and I don't quite understand what they're doing. There's a theory that they see their own reflection, but I don't buy that theory. I don't know what they're doing, but ground hornbills also do it. And they can actually break car windows and even house windows with that huge beak of theirs. They just need to hammer it ever so slightly. Oh, we've got something. And I have no idea what it is. Do you think we should try and get closer, Dobby? Okay, let's try. They don't make it easy. Okay, one's going to pop out onto the road again. There we go. And this is exactly how they hunt, how they forage. They just walk, all day walking. Whenever they need to rest, they will go into the trees. It's got something. It's obviously insects, but I don't know what. It's a female. You see that blue patch? What is she doing? I think she was trying to say, my dinner's better than yours. Look what I've got. It's quite sweet seeing the male and female walk like this. And they are said to be truly monogamous. Now, monogamy comes in all different shapes and sizes in birds. But they really are said to be monogamous. And also they breed cooperatively, so it's a group effort. So you can find normally large groups of ground hornbills, southern ground hornbills. I think the average size is around 5, including the male, the females, and the offspring. Now, what's fascinating here is they're just carrying their breakfast in their mouth. Fascinating. Okay, I'm going to check the Hyena Den once again, and we are now going to send you across to Steve with something special for you.
More left. There we go. Okay, well, everybody, we found him. He wasn't far away. Same sort of area he's been spending some time in. Oh, I just got the back of it, muddy bear. There we go. He's up on the right here. There he is. He's spending a lot of time in this little spot. And can't actually believe how big he's getting. When you saw his track, you wouldn't think it's a leopard cub. And because it's on its own, you think it's an independent individual. But it's obviously a youngster still looking for a little bit of love from mum. He gets a bit inquisitive and a bit exploratory. He's going to come out in the gap. Here he comes again. Ah, there he is. So when you talk about leopards knowing their areas and spending time in familiar areas, you know, when they're cubs like this or youngsters like this, they do a lot of exploring of their immediate surroundings. And so if you're a female, you're born in an area, you get to know that area intimately. Obviously the males do as well, but they eventually get pushed out. But so they're very inquisitive. So while he's hanging around waiting for mum to provide him with food, he will catch food himself, monitor lizards and squirrels and mongoose and all those sort of things. And so they get to learn the little nooks and crannies of these areas quite well. Quite incredible actually how quick he's growing. You're going to come down, my boy. No, this is namesake of the rock. He's going to stay on there and hide behind the bushes. So we said we wanted to find him. We had his tracks, but as suggested, we thought let's check his last place where he was, and of course, he was hanging out. He went for an exploration, hoping to maybe bump into mum along the way, or his curiosity got the better of him. And then he thought, let me get back before she gets back, otherwise I might not get led to anything to eat.
Wonderful news that Steve has managed to find a leopard. We at Phinda have managed to find these two elephant bulls on the top of this hill, and they are so beautifully silhouetted against the sky. It's a drizzly day, but every now and again the sun pops through. So it's quite an unusual setting. Two elephant bulls in the sea of green against the grey sky. There's a beautiful conical hill in the background, very vast view. Incredible. And that one elephant bull that's further behind actually has no tusks. We've just noticed it's completely tuskless. Usually it's quite normal for, at some stage in an elephant's life, if it gets old, for one of its tusks to break off or partially break or splinter. But to lose both tusks is, quite unusual. And I wonder if it affects his behavior at all. I mean, elephants use their tusks for quite a lot. They use it to strip bark, to defend themselves, to push over trees. And so this elephant has probably had to adapt to life without tusks in a lot of different ways. And elephants are very intelligent animals. So they are very good at adapting to different environments, different problems. to these setbacks as well. I'm sure he's made a plan and he's adapted his lifestyle to having no tusks. The sun has beautifully just come out from behind a cloud, and there's this amazing contrast between the sky in the background and the elephants who are being bathed in sunlight. It's quite beautiful. Viola, you've asked if a elephant's skin has fur. And yes, they do have fur. All mammals do have fur. However, it's only in very certain parts of their body and only in a very tiny sort of surface area of their skin. They've got fur on the bottom of their tail. They've got bristles on their trunk. Their trunk has got bristles, and especially on the inside of their two nostril openings on their trunk. But over their back and their sides and their legs, their hairs or their skin is actually bare of fur, and it's very, very tough. Watch how that elephant uses his trunk, to pick up some grass, snap it off and put it into his mouth. Kim, you are 100% correct. This is a very big bull elephant. Well, both of them are very big bulls. And the reason why they're alone at the moment is because they are fully grown elephant bulls who are quite happy to live a very bachelor sort of lifestyle. They'll live alone like this, or in twos or threes, or sometimes smaller herds of 4 or 5. 95% of the time they'll be on their own like this with other big bulls. But when they do go into must, which is when they are really keen to mate with females, their hormones change in their bodies and they're driven to find females and mate with them. That's when they will hang around with the herds for as long as that state of must lasts and mate as much as they can. But when that must ends, they will go back to living this nomadic bachelor lifestyle like they are now. He's still loading grass into his mouth very happily in the sunlight. And there's so much grass around, so green and lush at the moment in the south of Phinda, that these elephants have been spending a lot of time in the grasslands. In the winter time, so in June, July, when it's a little bit drier, this grass becomes brown and desiccated, and these elephants will actually move further north to an area where there's much more trees and fruit and change their diet completely. But we're going to spend some more time with these two elephants now and see if maybe they come a little bit closer. But for now, we're going to send you back to Steve and his leopard.
Well, everybody, I've been corrected. This is not indeed Tandi's little boy. This is Shasha. This is one of Sabui's. So that's why it's so much bigger than I first thought. We didn't have the best view. We had a leopard in the exact same spot as before, and he's moving around. He's moving across that way. So he's obviously smelling where the other cub was. He's probably very interested to know who has been hanging around and what's been going on. So it'd be interesting to see what actually happens. I mean, we had tracks of a male, and so definitely he's a little bit older than Tandi's. 15, 16 months now versus 10, 11. So there's a big difference in the size, but that's why I thought he looks a bit big. But I'll be the first to admit, everybody, I don't look at leopards directly in the face and go, hey, not for all of them anyway, and know who they are. Here he is. That's why we've got such a wonderful audience back home who is able to help us. Here he is, looking pretty. Let me just rest off the break there. So it'd be interesting to see what he gets up to if he did find the little young boy, because he's now starting to get to dispersal age. There'd probably be a little bit of play. I was hoping to pick up on tracks of Sibui and her boys, or boy and girl perhaps. Quite incredible how close they have been hanging out, isn't it? Because this is the rock that Tristan has had Moribe on for quite some time. Albert, leopards in the wild, males normally 11, 12, 13 is a good age for a male. Females can get as much as 16, 15, 16 years of age. Obviously, there's many, many ailments and many things that can cause them to perish out here, and we don't always even know what happens. You have a leopard, and then one day it's there, then one day it's gone. Like, I believe that's what's happened to Anderson, a big, very popular male leopard to the south. He was around one day, and the next thing he was not. So what befalls these animals is very hard. We often find them due to their tracks, but if they disappear, it's very hard to track an animal that's just disappeared, and down he goes again. Okay, so my apologies for the misidentification, everybody. But the tracks came from the lodge, so it probably was him. And they crossed the stream and went up to the block on the other side of us here. And it's possible that he came back this way. It's also possible that Moribe is also here. Very likely that he was, maybe. Let's just see if we can get another view. Almost exactly where Moribe was the other day, I believe. Vehicle tracks into here. Oh, he's in the river now. In the water, Sabi. You wanted him in the water. Oh, he's going to move. He's walking in the river now. Another vehicle with us they'd like to see. I'd like to see a male leopard walking in the river. I often talk about them not wanting to get their feet wet. I think he's walked up the river and now he's walking back down. I think he's done trying to investigate who this young boy is. Very inquisitive. So he's investigating different areas. Where is Sister and Mama? Very hard to say, but we're going to head around, see if we can catch him walking in the river, because I think that would be a splendid view.
It's no secret that nature can heal. Some of our WildEarth viewers are finding solace in the outdoors close to their homes during lockdown.
This is how I keep myself busy during lockdown. Beautiful little jumping spot.
I love walking in the open spaces near my home. Provides a moment of peace in a crazy world.
This is my fire escape with some of the birds I get to see. That's what it's like in New York City during lockdown.
Being in nature helps me to cope with the challenges of life and helps me to be humble and grateful.
It's magical watching everything turn into a winter wonderland as the snow softly falls.
Been doing lots of walking, dog walking, outside at parks.
This is my Ridgeback Drake. Our little slice of paradise is a provincial park called Hopewell Ross.
Connecting with nature is critical to stay positive during these tough times. WildEarth encourages you all to find time to escape to nature.
Hello everyone, my name is Trishala and I am a naturalist and safari guide here in Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands in South Africa. I think that the information that we provide, and most importantly the questions that you ask, give both you and I a really good idea of what's going on. My friend Fernando here, he's a flat-necked chameleon and I love them. They're just these gems that you manage to find in the bush.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth. Imagine having your own secluded African bush home where you and your friends can enjoy the ultimate safari experience. If you sign up to be a WildEarth explorer, this could become a reality. Tumbeta House is located in the heart of Djuma Private Game Reserve, the home of WildEarth. You could win a chance to stay at this intimate wilderness retreat, offering you the rare and highly sought-after privilege of your own home in the bush. The prize includes 3 nights for 6 people and includes daily game drives, a chance to see the WildEarth camp, and have dinner with one of our guides. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer before the end of February 2021, and you could be heading to Djuma, the place that we call home. Available dates are limited, so terms and conditions apply.
Back with us, everybody, and he's in here somewhere. He's walking in the river beautifully. There he is in front of us. Well done, Step. Now this is where we had his tracks. We were following these tracks. So he was on a mission and he probably picked up on a smell, and that's what turned him back. Ooh, he's maybe going to stalk some mongoose now. Very good. Yeah, the guinea fowl. So they are reliable, everybody. They are reliable sometimes. Not all the time. He's now going to rub his face in the bush. Someone else has rubbed their face in. Completely oblivious to the sounds of the guinea fowl. I think he's trying to find a mum. Going to go up on his back legs. Pushes his head into the bush. The scent mark of a leopard's pretty strong. I mean, I don't know what we're trying to gauge it against, but it lasts for about 2 weeks without rainfall. A very strong popcorny sort of smell. So I don't know what we can gauge it against with regards to strength, but it's got a very strong, very nice. I actually like the smell. It's one of my favorite smells in the bush. Look at this wonderful scene. Guinea fowl aren't scared. Look at them. Maybe a little bit. So this is where we had his tracks up until about there. And then they turned in to the right. That's when we went around the block. He's like, what is all the noise about? Goodness. Okay, we're going to follow this male leopard, see where he heads to, and send you over to Ross, who's got a wonderful large elephant.
Welcome back, everyone. We are still spending some time with these two elephant bulls, and they haven't moved too far. Unlike Steve's leopard, they are standing very, very still, and they're enjoying all the grass that's abundant all around their feet. They're starting to flap their ears like that. I don't know if you can see, very gently, and I think it seems as if the clouds that have been hanging around for the entire morning have eventually about to disappear, and the sun has come out, and it's actually excruciatingly hot now. And these elephants have gone from being rained on with a bit of wind and some cloud to now very, very hot. And to cool themselves down, they actually beat their ears like that slowly and surely to kind of pass air along the back of their ears, where they've got lots of little blood vessels, or some of them are actually quite big blood vessels, but a lot of blood vessels exposed to the skin, and when they beat their ears like that, they cool the blood down inside their ears, and that cool blood is then pumped around their whole body to cool the rest of their body down. It's almost like the same way a radiator in a car works. So a really good question coming through. Do elephants gain weight during summer? And they do. They don't gain a significant amount of weight though. They'll put on weight when the feeding is good, and when the feeding is bad, they'll lose a little bit of weight. But they're not like other animals that do all of their feeding when the summer rains come and take advantage of that time. They are versatile enough to be able to have food at all times of the year, because they feed on very different food sources. So the difference in their weight between summer and winter is a little bit, or I'd say it's negligible compared to, for example, buffalo, who only feed on grass, and grass is only plentiful at one time of the year, and buffalo would then eat a lot of grass in the summer, gain a huge amount of weight in the summer, and then actually live off those fat stores in the winter. Elephants don't need to live off fat stores in the winter. They are able to, well, on Phinda, they're able to go north to the more sort of woodland areas, forest areas, and feed on those evergreen trees in the winter, and the fruits that fruit there in the winter, and then they just change their diet when the grass runs out. They're very, very adaptable creatures. However, if there are severe droughts and conditions where they aren't able to eat food for sort of 3 or 4 months, there's no good feeding, like the drought that we've been having for the last 6 years. There was one year when there was just this entire area was just red sand. There was no food here. There was no trees, no plants. All the grass was sort of bare on the ground, the seeds were dormant in the soil waiting for rain, and that was a time when elephants, but all the animals actually lost a lot of condition. But that wasn't normal times. That was severe drought. And thank goodness we've been seeing some strong rains in the last 2 years that have picked us up out of that drought. And these elephants are feeling very, very content with where they are at the moment. They're showing no signs of getting moving or going to get water. They're just happily feeding in this grassland. So we're going to send you back to Steve now with his leopard, who has found a new spot.
Well, actually, this is Tandi's boy now, everybody. This is, when I was pointing out the tracks before, when he was walking up the road, Sabui's boy was walking up the road, and I told you where we'd had the tracks and where I wanted to check. To the right, this is exactly where this one was found. That is Maribs. There he is. He's been watching Shasha walk straight past on the road, and is actually walking down towards Tswalu Dam now. So he was very, very close. I can still sort of have a distance view of our other male leopard. No, that's a termite mound. But the size difference is quite noticeable, and I reckon he's quite happy he didn't get spotted. Well, earlier Seb was like, oh, it's so nice to meet Tandi's son. And then we were told by James Richard it wasn't Tandi's son. And now that we're seeing Tandi's son, now Seb gets to see two new. Welcome back to Djuma, Mr. Sebastian, or should I say to Chitwa? Do you remember my interview?
Yeah.
You were with me on my interview, and we got to see two male leopards, Tingana and Osana, so it seems like it's all happening over again. Well, everybody, we're going to plan to go off and maybe do a medicinal, but with the two leopards now, we're going to postpone to this afternoon or tomorrow morning, as is the way it works with finding big cats. It's nice to spend time with them, isn't it? Okay, so I'm almost certain the tracks that we followed up the road here are different from the ones that were coming down towards the river, because they walked down to the stream and then I lost them, and then we crossed the stream and then we found fresh tracks that led us to this area. But we went around the block, and then when we went back to the place where we found Shasha, he was definitely looking in the area where this young boy had been hanging out. And so quite incredible to now find two within the same area. And it's nice when you see fresh tracks. And if only we'd looked right properly, as said, we would have found him the first time. Sitting beautifully on the termite mound, or he might not have been. He might only have gone onto the termite mound after Shasha scared those guinea fowl. Molly, leopards just aren't friendly with each other. It's just the way it is. There's huge competition amongst them. Who knows how they'll interact with each other. They're still quite young, but there'll definitely be a behavior between them. There's something will happen. I don't know what will transpire. They're not related. And even if Tandi had, or even if Kalamba meets this fellow, there's going to be differences of opinion. It's just the way leopards are. Even amongst cub and mum, there is issues from time to time. They are not social creatures. They're not social, although we do see them in social groupings quite often in this environment here in the Sabi Sands in Djuma. But he is at risk, unfortunately, from any other male. I think Shasha's a bit young to give him too much of a hard time, but he was definitely interested. And if my ribs knew that Shasha was going to be friendly, he would have ran out and said, hey, let's play. But instead, he's more interested just to watch him walk on past. And eliminate the competition that might generate, and at some point these two boys, both reaching adulthood, will be competing. Now, please correct me if I'm wrong and this is not Tandy's cub at all, but I am sure it is. Now that we've had a chance to view him, he's very pretty. He's still looking off into the distance. Sabi, well, that is actually a termite mound, so that's a Shadulu, hence where Shadulu got her name from. Shadulu is the Shangaan name for a termite mound. His is actually after the rock, place of the rock. There he goes, he's coming down in the front. He's probably was hiding in that long grass when we first came. But we were guiding another vehicle in, and they were coming up to catch up with us, and they found him sitting there, and we were 50 meters away. So I'm almost certain that the guinea fowl alerted him to the presence, and as we often are attracted to alarm calls, so are predators. Thank you, James. Thank you, James. It is indeed being confirmed by James Richard. He's going to walk away. Maybe we will find that Tandy has brought him a kill, but I don't think so. There were no female tracks in this area. There were no female tracks coming in or out. It's not far from the rocks. The rocks are just over there. He's moved just slightly from it. We're right up on the crest here on this very nice hippo path. He looks like he might want to go up this tree. He's looking up the tree. Often you'll notice the intention of a cat before they do it. Let's see if he wants to go up. There's no real need to go up, just his safety. Just had a look. There's no kill up there of any sort. There you go. That's a beautiful Marula. Let's move up slightly to see if we can get another view. Spoiled for choice this morning. Quite incredible how I saw him go into that little patch of green. He's going to go back to his rock, is he? Just walking straight down there. He's going to go back to where Mum left him now that the other big bad male leopard has moved away. See, he can't be certain. Another leopard arrives. He's just got to move. That's what the instinct tells him. That's what the instinct indicates. Safety is away. He's in no position to challenge, no position to fight. Best thing for a young male leopard is to skittle away and protect itself from harm's way. And then we'll send you back over to Djuma and catch up with Lauren.
Well done, Vov. 2 leopards. We're not having much luck at this side, I'm afraid. The Hyena Den was also not active once again. I tried, though. And sometimes when you just come back from being on leave, you've got to find the layout of the land. Everything's changed. Same, but different. If that makes any sense. Now, we heard lions calling, but it was just a once-off, and it's very difficult to actually determine where they're calling from. So we're just checking the boats that we think we heard the audio from. And it's not too cold. Normally, sound projects much further when it's cold. So in winter, when you're trying to determine exactly where you've heard audio from, it's a little bit trickier. But it's summer, it's warm, it's really not too cold. So I'm hoping that we may get lucky, but sadly no tracks so far. No sign of them so far. And if they don't call again, we might not be in luck, but we shall try. You'll have to go again with that question, Gwen.
LC?
Lost. LC, I don't think we get lost anymore, to be honest. When I first joined, it was tricky to learn all the roads. But I think now, 2.5 years in, I'm not entirely sure I would get lost on the roads. I think I'm seeing things. Whereas when you off-road and you go into the block, yes, it's very easy to get lost, absolutely. But on the roads, LC, I wouldn't say we get lost anymore. Especially in summer. In summer, when you start to off-road and go after an animal, my goodness, it can be very tricky. And then you lose light and you're plunged into darkness. Yes, that can be hard. But I think now, the property that I know the least, I would say, is Torchwood. But all the other properties, I think, I've got firmly under my belt now. It would be a little bit worrying if I got lost in Djuma. I think I know the roads like I know the back of my hand, which is pretty well. And Djuma's small as well. Buffelshoek is very easy to navigate. Chitwa's tiny. Simbambili's easy. But Torchwood is the trickiest for me, but I shall get there. No signs of lions so far. I wonder if we just need to go a little bit more east on the cut line. Oh, a squirrel with his breakfast. At least we have blue skies. This is looking very promising for this afternoon, I must say. Shiny blue skies. Mandy, how often? New trails made. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that. We don't have anything that we call trails out here. We have roads and we have tracks. I'm not entirely sure what you mean. If you mean a sort of off-road track, well, anytime you go off-road, you're going to make a track. But generally, we have 2 tracks. We have game paths and we have roads. I'm not really sure what you mean by trails, but there's lots of rules out here. We follow rules, and when you go into a block, unless you're following an animal, you really should try and come out the way that you go in. You try and avoid making any sort of new tracks if you can really avoid it. Take 2 tracks. If it's been raining, obviously, right now, we don't go off-road. So I hope that answers your question. But we don't have anything that we refer to trails out here. Okay, we're back on the cut line again. No sign of the lions. So I think I'm maybe going to change tactics, see if we can see any signs of them. And from now, back over to Wolf and his leopard.
Okay, everybody. Well, we found him again. He's just moved off. He's now feeling a little bit more comfortable and relaxed here in the long grass. There's not a huge amount of space in this area. There's another vehicle that's quite interested. So we're going to give him one more view, and then we're going to move out. Go see if we can catch up with the other young male, Shasha, who moved off down towards the water, because it's just a little bit tight in here. So I can hear the vehicle coming. Thanks, Maribs, for a wonderful morning. So lovely to see you. He's probably going to be within this area today as he waits for his mum to come and bring him some food.
Can you hear my mama? I see.
I'll be making space for you. When you see my vehicle parked, you'll see he's just on my left-hand side, about 3 meters in the long grass. Okay, so we're just going to make some space. Give the other vehicle a chance. You don't want to put too much pressure on this young fellow, although he is becoming very, very relaxed. just going to help them get the visual. If you come forward, this little game path is just Lala here in the long grass, eh?
Got him.
We might actually be able to get a little bit forward. Yeah, okay. Pleasure. Okay, so there we'll leave them to enjoy him and we'll make our way out. Zumutla Gonzo. Okay, so just squeeze through here. Out through the red bush willow. So Seb, welcome back to the bush. Although you have been in the bush this whole time, haven't you? Okay, well, we're going to send you back over to someone, I'm not quite sure who.
If Steve is going for number 3, I'll be very impressed, Steve. Number 3. You've got number 2. That's a lot of leopards already. And how lucky, and also shows you folks on the density of leopards in that area is just so great. We have left those meerkats, the Makala group, and we are slowly moving through different blocks, so through different regions, west, south and southwest of that meerkat burrow system, and we are trying to pick up on the tracks on that mother end tree. And obviously using these sandy surfaces is a great way of understanding where they have gone. And is a very big part of Tswalu. Tracking is a very important element on how we find these animals through this vast environment. So understanding and recognizing track itself, this specific track, but then also understanding behavior is a very important part. You can have the wealth of knowledge of identifying tracks, but if you don't have the understanding on how and when they move, you're kind of going to run yourself into a corner. So it's a weighing game, tracking. Having the knowledge of the behavior, but also having the knowledge of the tracks themselves is very important. It is definitely toasty this side already. That sun is well, Justin, why is Tswalu flat in some places? It is just the way the soil has been deposited. So, for example, it looks fairly flat over here where we are driving now, but if we look to our right-hand side, you can see that the topography is fairly undulated as you move through Tswalu. And you can see the raised section of soil before that dune. You can see that the soil increases in height and then it goes down, and then you get the first dune, which is just before the mountain. So the topography of Tswalu is varied across the board. We do have sections that are fairly flat, but that is just the way in which the soil, the sediment, was deposited back in the day. And it's really entertaining when you are driving around. It's constantly entertaining and stimulating. Going over a sand dune, in between the dune streets, a little bit of flat sections, going through the rocky mountainous areas. It is lovely, and I love driving around out here. So all this soil was brought in via wind, and it is just the way in which it was deposited. Those mountains over there on our right-hand side, sorry, Morgan, those mountains over there on our right-hand side, the Olifantshoek supergroup, that was deposited by big rivers back in the day. And a very, very lovely feature to look at every day. Wake up and go to bed too. But yes, if you look at topography, it's a very important thing, because with topography, you have different habitats. Claire, is there parts of Tswalu that never gets green? So with rain is obviously over a very large area. So the rains that we have received now, every single little corner of Tswalu is green. And there's definitely through periods where we don't have favorable rainy seasons, that you would have maybe a little shower in a section, and then, for example, out in the west might still be brown and very arid. So Tswalu is very vast, and you do have these fluctuations within a large area. Like I've just explained, you could have a green section here in the central part, and as you go out west, it might have not received rain, it might still be very, very dry out there. So yes, some parts of Tswalu don't get green, but now it is very, very green. Every single little part of Tswalu is busting with the beautiful color green, and it's my favorite color. It's just like the color of life. It's just beautiful. And so just driving slowly, taking our time, making sure, there's still a lot of ground cover now. So the road is my best chance, our best chance, sorry. The road is our best chance of finding tracks because there's so much ground cover that if a cheetah walks through here, you are going to miss a track very, very easily. So utilizing the sandy bit over here is a very efficient boundary line that we can see direction of these beautiful cats. Got a little bit of cloud cover, and these clouds are very, very high. Let's take a look at the clouds quickly. Take a look at the clouds, Morgan. When do you have an opportunity to stop and look at clouds? There's beautiful whitewood, Steenbok running away from us there. A little bit of disturbance. Oh, they're gone. Steenbok, obviously very small antelope, so the amount of growth that is around right now, they hide away very, very easy. There's one. So we're slowly getting Morgan into the scene. We're following antelope and meerkats, and then in the upcoming days, we're going to start following butterflies and birds. Really put his skills to the test. All right, but this little Steenbok, I'm sure, is going to make hooves, but let's send you over to somebody who is on a mission.
Oh, thanks, Mike. We moved away from our male, and we tried to find our other male that was walking down towards the dam itself. The vehicle that was with him lost him coming in this direction, but we found some elephants having a swim. So let's see if we could just find some shade here, because it's very hot. Very, very hot. Oh, I wish I could be doing that. Oh, splendid. Obviously, elephants won't be at all concerned about a male leopard moving down. While we watch them swim, I'm just going to keep having a look, see where he might have gotten to. There's so many. I once had a male elephant walk up to the front of the car I was in. I was with a researcher at the time, Michelle Hendley. An elephant walked right up to the bonnet, stuck its trunk in, touched her face, touched my face, left goo or whatever you might call elephant nose stuff all over us, and then moved off. It was quite a memorable experience. I've had so many. It's really hard to put them anywhere, but watching them swim is always very, very cool. You see, they're much more buoyant in the water. They're actually designed, they're definitely remnants of an aquatic lifestyle. Their lungs are attached to their spinal cord, so when they're in the water, their spine, which is just above the water, the lungs are just underneath the spine, so they hold the body buoyant. They keep it very, very buoyant. So that must feel really amazing when you weigh 4, 5 tons, 6 tons, metric tons, to be able to suddenly be weightless in the water. They definitely seem to be enjoying themselves as well. They're not just doing it for cooling. There's definitely an element of play, an element of cheekiness sometimes when they push each other down. Rosemary, it makes me happy too. Here we go. Here comes a bit of play again. Now there's an island there that they're standing on. You can see the one that's submerged is not really in an island. He's just had his feet pulled up from underneath him. Blissful, blissful. He's going to run away. Bubbles in the water. They're very good swimmers, everybody. Being as buoyant as they are helps. Just boys having fun. You don't often find breeding herds of elephants having as much fun as the bulls do. They definitely live a much less serious life. Young elephant bulls. They don't have much responsibility. And you definitely see there's a hierarchy between these three. See the one on the far left is bigger. They're all moving away from him. He probably plays a little bit too rough. You can see the general body language. Here we go. He's saying, come on, I want to play now. And the one on the right is going, no, you're too big. You always drown me. He's been feeling left out. Now it's time for him to interact. We can have a three-way push. There's always that one boy, isn't it, who hangs out with you, who's always a bit too rough. It's never the favourite playmate. Absolute joy. Absolute joy. Okay, well, we're going to stay here with elephant bulls while they enjoy themselves in the sunshine and the water and send you back over to Lauren and Djuma.
Now, I don't quite know what we have here. I did have it on a porky pointer for you, but sadly it's decided that my hand is a far better option. I think it's some sort of shield bug. Oh, dearie me, no. Okay. I think you would be much happier on this little porky pointer. At first I thought it was a tick, but it's got 6 legs, which means it's an insect and not an arachnid, although sometimes you can generalize both of these groupings and call them all insects to make it easier, but of course insects have 6 legs. So I don't know what species this is. And talking of species, I discovered something that might make you all laugh. There's actually a new species of horsefly named after a very famous pop diva known as Beyonce Knowles. If you don't know who Beyonce is, I'm sorry, I cannot help you. But basically, the scientists that discovered this horsefly named it Scaptia beyondacea. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So insects can be cool, they can be funky, they can be named after pop divas. Sorry, Davy, I was just trying to bring it back here. And it was originally collected in 1981, which is the same as Beyonce's year of birth. Sorry, Beyonce, for revealing your age, but you know. And secondly, it's apparently got a very beautiful rear end, which is another reason it was named after Beyonce. Yes, scientific sometimes doesn't always... Well, it's not very scientific. And it's actually named after Beyonce. But its rear end is beautiful due to golden hairs, not anything else or anything to do with size. I don't actually know if Beyonce is very flattered with this. Horseflies are not exactly regarded as popular. They can be regarded as pests. And this particular horsefly is from Australia, Scaptia beyondacea. How cool! I thought you would all appreciate this. Now, if any of you do know what insect this is, please do let us know. I really have no idea, and you can see how remarkably small it is. It's tiny, and I actually found it on my leg, which is why I thought very possibly it could be a tick, but it's not. It's absolutely not. It matches the porky pointer. Would you look at that? Nope. Nope. Not doing a very good job of this, am I? Now, insects are everywhere right now, and it's a joy. I mean, we've even got a little grasshopper down here in the car. Insects sort of influence our ecosystems. I once read it's likened to a ripple effect on water. Isn't that a beautiful term for insects? That's how much we depend on them as humans, and every ecosystem does. They're said to also outnumber the grains of sand on the world's beaches. Now, can you imagine that? On all the beaches around the entire world, every grain of sand, there will be more insects. Unbelievable. So we're going to let this little porcupine pointer bug be, and for now we're going to send you back to Steve.
Welcome back to Chittu again, everybody, where our elephants are still playing around. Always wonderful to spend time with these fellows in the water. The big one was definitely getting a bit too rough. Smaller ones made a bit of noise, and he went and sat off on the side. He's just too big from a weight point of view. He wants to play, but unfortunately he's just too heavy. You've all heard the term, pick on someone your own size. These two are much more evenly matched. Although every now and again you can still hear the clashing of the tusks. It's a bit jarring, to be honest, to hear that noise. Daniel, I've never seen them mate in water. I've never seen too many females, to be honest, in the water. They might splash around a bit. Hippos most certainly do mate in water, and it would make life easier for elephants if they did. But I've never seen them do so. I've actually never encountered elephants properly mating. But it would make sense if they did so in water. It takes away the weight. they're having an absolute, what we say in South Africa, an absolute jaw, yeah? We feel quite envious. We'd like to go and join them. I wonder how they would take to that. Okay, so his younger friend is bowed out. He's going to challenge the big fella. Let's see how long this lasts for. You can see the size difference is quite noticeable. Oh, the big fella's decided, okay, I'll play this game. I'll fall over for you first. Get you enticed, get you excited, and then as soon as you think you're winning, so just for those of you who are interested, they are not mating. These are young bulls. And there is obviously some dominance attempts in regard to the climbing on each other. But they're all way too young for that. You're seeing a lot of play, excitement and joy. Poly elephants are very playful. I think they enjoy it. The play they do is for enjoyment. So dolphins are definitely very playful. Monkeys and baboons are very playful. But lions are extremely playful, and a lot of their play is very important with regard to their ability to hunt and to fight later on. Elephants, obviously, these bulls are practicing certain techniques for fighting, but I think a lot of it is 100% just play. So I don't know who the most playful are, but elephants definitely seem to enjoy it the most. They enjoy the play. And you can see how the one on the left has turned his back. It said, okay, enough now. Keeps turning. Enough. I don't want that anymore. You're too big, too strong, and as soon as you bow down, I'll jump on you. That's how you do it, little fellow. Playing certainly serves a purpose in many animals. Many animals play for the purpose of learning, the purpose of honing skills. Elephants, of course, there's some skills being honed, but I think they just enjoy it. As with dolphins surfing the waves of boats. There's play. I mean, if I was a dolphin, I reckon I'd surf all the time. Seb agrees.
Oh, yeah.
And if I was an elephant, I would probably spend all day, every day, just hanging out in the water.
Do you dream of traveling to a far-flung wilderness location where life continues as normal? A place where you can escape to nature and breathe. If you become a WildEarth explorer, then this could soon become a reality. Subscribe today and stand a chance to win regular travel prizes. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Okay, there's another big male coming in from our left here. Another big male, look at this. This is the one. Now you're going to see sparks fly, guys. guys. It doesn't get better than this, eh? Yes. Unbelievable. Africa, I love you, eh?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
This is Rusty. He's my favorite vehicle, and we've been through all the good times here in the bush. Now, if you feel a connection to Djuma Game Reserve like I do, then we have a fantastic opportunity for you. You can have your name engraved on a brushed metal plaque, just like this one, and we will attach it to Rusty so you can always be with us on safari in spirit. We will even send you a digital photograph once your plaque is mounted on Rusty. Spaces are limited, so grab your spot now.
Hi, I'm Mike Anderson, and I come to you live every day from Eco Training Pridelands Conservancy in South Africa. The wild animal I think is most underrated. I think buffaloes are the most underrated. They're so tenacious and ferocious, and also very, very protective of each other, which I find incredible. You know, sometimes people think of the big five, they just think of lions and leopards and other big animals, but I think buffaloes are pretty underrated.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth. In a world full of upheaval, we all need a quiet and safe space to breathe. A place where anxiety and stress don't exist. A place where life carries on as normal. Escape to nature with WildEarth.
Welcome back to the pool party. These two elephants are still enjoying themselves. They've been swimming for quite some time. They were swimming when we were following Shasha the first time. We saw them down here, but we figured we would follow our leopard for a little while longer, and he actually started walking in this direction, at which point we spotted Marube. And now I can hear impalas alarming up the hill from where we were before. So maybe he's moving again. Well, Chitra, as always, has got the potential to show us such magic in the mornings. And indeed, such magic we are experiencing. Welcome back, Sebastian. It's lovely to have you back on my vehicle. Do you remember when we had our buffalo birth just over there? That was very special. We've seen some very special sightings, you and myself, on this property. And, well, this one's going to go down in the books again. That's the island that James had the impala jumping off of, that Crocky the Croc chased. What a special time that was as well. It's the one morning I didn't come to Chitto after the TV show, and James did. Anyway, everybody, we hope you've enjoyed your morning with us today, and we've thoroughly enjoyed bringing you these images from the African wilderness. Don't forget, we will be starting show tomorrow morning, half an hour later, so 6:30 South African time. And we do appreciate your questions and comments. We look forward to seeing you same time, same place this afternoon. Until then, have a wonderful day. Good day and goodbye.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on board this afternoon's sunset safari, where there are some clouds building up in the east and towards the south, and it is a very hot sticky and humid afternoon, and, well, I would like to go and find myself some buffaloes and maybe some shade. I don't have to squint like this. So it's not only me out and about, of course. We've also got Tristan, who's out and about, and he is